of you to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Another exciting week ahead. Always good to be back after a little break that we have. So, a very warm welcome to all of you. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and then we will get started. So, give me a sec. All right. So, are you able to see it?
Yes, Nitinji.
Great. Okay. So, like we always do, we are going to get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Okay. So Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening to all of you. So let's get started with our Soul Soup segment. So we'll continue on our success, happiness, and fulfillment series. Last time we spoke about why it is unreasonable, to a larger extent to expect somebody to think, behave, act exactly like you, because our mind is under the sway of Maya. It is made up of material energy, and material energy is not governed, but material energy has three attributes to it, those three gunas that we talk about. So it is always operating in those three gunas, and so does our mind. And for two people, and these gunas, they keep on fluctuating, changing every minute. That proportions can vary as well. So no two people, the odds of two people being in the same guna to the same extent for the same duration at the same time to the same proportion as well, they are like probabilities pretty nil, and that is why it's bound to have conflicts around that. And when we the good thing is we can't understand or read others' mind, and that is why the world is sustained. If we could, then there'll be war, because there'll be conflicts all around. So today we'll continue on that. What is your dominant guna? It is a very important question. One of the tools on the path of spirituality is having a witness consciousness, where you are just being witness to what's going on in your mind. And it's important to know what kind of gunas are dominant in you at any particular point in time. Not that you continue to analyze it, but at a higher level, it's important to have an understanding that your mind is playing tricks with you, and this time this guna is dominating. Because only when you have an awareness about something can you take any corrective action. If you are not even aware, then it will do its own thing, and then you will continue to dance to the tunes of the gunas, or whichever is a dominant guna in particular moment of time. So let's talk about what are these gunas. So these are the three: sattva, rajas, and tamas. Now what's going on is they are like wrestlers in your mind. You see the wrestlers here. Now these are only two wrestlers. We have a third one as well here. Okay. So sattva, rajas, these three wrestlers are always having a tussle going on in your mind. Sometimes one is dominant, sometimes the second, sometimes third, and all that stuff. And that wrestling goes on throughout. It is a non-stop wrestling that is going on in your mind. Okay. So it's very important to understand what's going on in your head. And what is your dominant guna? Because the chitta vritti that we have acquired across multiple lifetimes, uh, it will always help to know what is your dominant guna, or what is a predominant guna in general, most part of your life. And then you can do something about it with proper knowledge. We do have the ability to transcend our gunas. Now, there are tamasic people, people whose predominant guna is tamasic. What are some of the symptoms? Let's understand that. It is called the mode of ignorance, and it is attributed with the dark color. They cheat, they swindle, they rob others to fulfill their needs. They do not care for the rules of God. Okay, they don't have any regard for that at all. Rule God and rule of God and anything of that sort. If something suits them, they feel justified in doing it. Matters little that they could be harmful to others. In like Ramalinga Raju, we had spoken about that example. You could fall into that dominant guna at that point in time, right? Then comes the Rajasic people. They are called, the first one is called the mode of ignorance. The second one is called the mode of goodness. Mode of goodness. No, sorry. Mode of passion. Rajasic is mode of passion. Sattvic is mode of goodness. What is mode of passion? Mode of passion is they earn money legally. They will do legally. Whatever is justified, honestly, they will work. But then they will use that money for their pleasure and needs. Okay, not beyond that. They don't break the law, but they are driven by materialistic desires for the gratification of their mind and senses. That is the key thing. Now, even if they engage in social welfare, right, they would engage it for the purpose of their fame and prestige. So if you look at some of the people who go to temples and say, hey, put that fan, but put my Dadaji's name or my name on that fan or on the marble, or build that temple with my name on it, engraved on it, so the generations to come or people around would know how great I am. So their purpose is fame and prestige. They are in the mode of Rajasic. Right? Now, Rajasic people, they take on a position, okay, vantage position, or they think, the Tamasic people are cheats and violators of the law. But they don't realize that they are also transgressing the divine law. We will understand that. Okay, when you simply do it for your own self, you're also transgressing the law, not the material law. The court of law will not pull you up for that, but the divine laws you will still get implicated in that. Bhog leads to rogue, and we have to go to yoga. That is the whole idea. So they are also cheaters in the eyes of God because you're doing it only for yourself. Okay, so they are the people in the mode of rajas or passion. The third is the mode of goodness. In mode of goodness, now those people, they are driven by higher virtues. What are the higher virtues? They are like compassion, generosity. They participate in projects such as, for others and for society. And those projects could be like honest social workers. You see, so many people, they run the NGOs, they are associated with the cause. So social workers, they fall into that. Philanthropists, people who give away money to help others. Knowledge seekers and researchers also fall into this category. Now, intention of Sattvic people is purer and more selfless as opposed to Rajasic people, because it's not just about their own seeking. They are doing it for the larger good. However, that's the key thing now. In the light of divine knowledge, it is still impure. This is a key thing. It has to be understood because it is devoid of God consciousness. Now, this is a very important concept. Some people get stuck at this level only, not beyond sattva. They cannot go beyond sattva, and they lead their life around that only. But if you truly understand what Bhagavad Gita is telling, it says being good is good, but not good enough. So they are also doing binding karmas. Okay? And beyond that comes Gunatit. That is the fourth category. They are beyond the modes of material nature. Why? Because they are established in their loving relationship with God. Their inspiration is love for the God and divine. And consequently, the intention behind every action of theirs is to please Him. Such an intention is called truly pure. They are Gunatit. In fact, they subscribe to, there is a beautiful shloka in chapter 9, verse 27, which says, Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhoshi dadashiyat yat tapasyai kanteya tat kurushva madarpanam. The Lord is saying basically, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever sacrifices you perform, whatever you give away in charity, whatever austerities you undertake, do them all as an offering turned to me. And when you do that, you're actually getting into the fourth category of Gunatit people. And that is the only way to salvation. There's no other way. Sattva, if you do, you will go to celestial abodes. Celestial modes, you come back again. You exhaust it, you're back. So there's nothing beyond that you can do if you are limiting yourself to sattva alone. So we need to figure out what is our dominant guna with witness consciousness and then consciously work towards it. So if it's predominantly tamasic, it's important to swing into action. If you are action oriented, but you are doing it for self, that it's important to think of the bigger picture, how you can do it for others. If you're already in sattva, it's about time to take it to the next level. The beauty is you don't have to go from tamasic to rajasic to sattvic to gunatit. From tamasic to gunatit, from rajasic to gunatit, from sattvic to guna, all three paths are open. Okay, it's not a sequential journey that, okay, first, you are in tamas, then you go to rajas, and then sattva, no, nothing of that sort. From tamasic, you can directly become gunatit. There are enough examples in our scriptures to illustrate that point. So many stories are there. Ratnakar, he was purely tamasic. Immediately he transcended, right? By reciting God's name, Mara, Mara, Mara. He could not even say Ram, Ram, Ram properly. So that is how it can. Yes, Sanjay, you had a question now before we move on to our
Yeah,
topic.
just in connection with what you said. So from Tamsik also one can directly become Gunatit, right? So, but does the rate or the ease of going to Gunatit depend upon which guna is predominant in you?
I mean, if you think about it, Sattva is better than Rajas, Rajas is better than Sattva. Right? If you simply empirically, if you are thinking. So in that case, if you're in Sattva, might already be in surface and you just have to take the next leap. All the good that you're doing, now relinquish that goodness, for your own sake or deriving some kind of a pleasure out of it, start offering it to God. Having said that, it could be a disadvantage also because in Sattvic, you are now attached to that pleasure. In Tamasic, anyway, you have nothing to lose. So it's a complex formula in that sense. It could help. It really depends on how quickly you are able to shift your mind, right, to the bigger picture. So whoever gets an exposure can actually, that is, God has not made it difficult for us. Basically, he has said, okay, you have direct access regardless of who you are. Okay, whether you are a dog or a dog eater, you all can transcend to me and nobody enjoys an advantage. It's not like, okay, our scriptures are saying first become a Rajasik, then become Sattvic, and then doors will open up for you. Nothing of that sort.
And in some sense, is it like for Tamsik it is easier to realize the mistake, and for Satvik it might be difficult to even identify that I am
Possibly.
doing a binding karma or something like in a binding mode of.
Yeah, I mean, we can journalize it. There are probabilities, probability comes into play, right? Sattvic may even have an ego. Okay, I don't need to learn anything. I'm already doing good, right? But on the other side, Sattvic may have an inclination or an openness to understand or absorb knowledge. Tamasic might be, okay, who cares, man? I will just not think about it. So it's pretty complex to generalize it. Yeah, anything can happen. Yes, Prabhat?
Yes, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, one day I was talking to someone and I asked them to not drink because they used to drink.
Hmm.
And they told me that if I am having it or I am drinking something, but I am drinking in limit, like one pack or something like that. So what's wrong in that? I'm not losing my consciousness and other things.
Hmm.
So why it is wrong? So I told him it's tamasic or maybe something like that. You should not have it because it will, hindrance in Bhagavad Marg or maybe that. Though that person is not into that particular position, but I had a discussion related to that. So what's the main logic behind it? Like if someone is into their consciousness after taking or drinking a very little amount, then what's harm in it? So how can we explain this to someone?
Okay, I don't know how to explain. I mean, our scriptures are, see, first of all, I think drinking is considered as one of the Pancha Mahapap, right? You are actually, anything that tinkers with your mind is actually not good for you. That even goes for caffeine for that matter. Okay. Even chocolates has that caffeine. So people who are careful about it would go to the extent of finding out, does it tinker? Does it do any chemical locha in our mind or not? Okay. So as scripture is saying, refrain from such things. They're intoxicants. Secondly, if they drink, will they drink in temple? Answer will be no. Now, this body is also a temple of God. Why would you drink there, right? God is seated within. Why would you want to treat him with that? Right? So think about it. This body is also a temple of God. There's no place where it is not. So we think God resides only in temple, nowhere else. Thirdly, it is one of the Panch Mahapaps also. Because if you look at so much of crime that happens, some of the house, they get broken, with these kind of vices like gambling or drinking. Person loses sense of what they are doing. You let your guard off. A lot of things. Why do you get tamasic? The tamasic attributes, they become powerful when the darkness start setting in. You see a lot of people, they have a habit. The moment it's dark, they feel like having a shot. So these propensities, they increase around that time. So there are a lot of things, and crime, people commit crime, and so many things happen, right? And that is why probably scripture says stay away from this. In fact, Kali Yuga, when it was banished, right? It was banished, and during Kali Yuga, Dwapar was about to end, and Kali Yuga was saying, as he said, give me some place to go to. And then Parikshit said, I think gave him, one was the metals, gold, and one of the place, where Kali Yuga was told to go was Madirale as well. Okay. So where you have those bars and pubs, Kali Yuga is there. So it will destroy your intellect. You forget, your discerning ability goes for a toss. And that is why scriptures are telling us very clearly why to take a chance. Not even take a chance. It's not good. And it doesn't say it's bad. See, it's not conducive for your spiritual journey as well. So let's say you have been meditating, right? And if you're meditating and if you do intoxication, you will realize, that it has thrown back your journey by several notches. You're not able to concentrate or reap the benefit as you used to. So that is a matter of realization. So people do that, so you can't argue with somebody who's predisposed to doing something they want to do. But if you ask me technically, I mean, these are all the reasons you can give yourself to, stay away from these things. But somebody who has to drink will drink anyways. It happened, once I got to my friend's place and he gave me, and I smiled back at him. I said, I can have water, that's fine. And then he started, how can you not even have a drink and enjoy it and all that? I said, I don't want. He said, you have got a guru and something, you have done some mantra and all that stuff. No, then I said, are you not scared of God? Don't you know it is a panch mahapap and stuff like that? And he freaked out for a minute. And then his wife smiled at me. He said, you are very jolly. She thought I'm kidding. I said, I'm telling you, this is a fact. Don't do it. But anyways, people who have to drink, they'll drink, right? You can't talk somebody out of it. But I'm just giving you the reason. Scriptures tell us it's just not conducive for your spiritual growth. So we need to stay away from. They say, "Jaisa an, vaisa man, jaisa pani, vaisi vani." Right? So it's not just about speaking English after you drink and driving bike. Having the guts to drive the bike. A lot of other things happen in your mind as well, which can, let your guard down, and you can commit a lot of things that you would normally want. Meenuji, you wanted to add something?
Radhe Radhe.
Yes, I'll give you related incidents about the tea, when we were having a Mangat sadhana, and everybody, everybody's addicted to tea and they wanted to have a break, and after that they want to drink tea. And Maharaji said, tea is not good for you and you should not drink tea because it has a nicotine in it and it's not good for you. So, but not only the people who are really addicted to it, they said, can we take Maharaji half cup then, or once a day? Is it okay once a day or half cup? So what I'm saying is, if it has a nicotine and it's poisonous for your blood, and I know it's very hard to get rid of the addictions, but it's causing you harm to your body or your blood. The same thing if somebody says this food has a poison, you will not say, can I eat little bit? Because if it has a poison, it's going to affect you, and we take drastic step only when we feel okay, it's poison, then I'm not going to eat. But it's okay to take little bit of alcohol or little bit of tea, but they are not good for us, and
Thank
it
you,
causes
Miji.
harm.
I know. Thank you, Miji, for telling that. Yeah, my struggle with tea, it's not that I'm addicted, but I don't mind taking it occasionally as well. But I know that it has nicotine part of it, right? But I always tell my throat is feeling a little better, so it helps me speak properly, okay, when I need to. But I get it, yes. Maharaj always used to cite that example as well. Yes, Kumarji, you wanted to add something?
Radhe Radhe Kumarji.
Jai Shri Ram, Jai Hanuman. One is, of course, tea doesn't have nicotine, it has caffeine.
Caffeine, yes.
Yeah. So two aspects to this, right? The question is, a lot of people drink, smoke, eat non-veg and all those things. And sometimes it affects us. We want to kind of, our knowledge, right? After being in the spiritual path, we want to kind of share it with them. But are they really receptive to that? So two aspects to this, right? how I look at it, mostly they will not change. So, for example, one is we should look at ourselves. Like I'm addicted to
Right.
coffee every morning. So, if I'm addicted to coffee, why am I saying about this person? Yes, it's a worse evil in the sense alcohol can do much more worse things. But I should not even, I don't have the right to even say that. Number two, even if we say that, they are not going to change. So, best is to concentrate on our spiritual journey. Let them be. They will change whenever they have to, or they might not change. But it's none of our business.
Agreed.
We should concentrate just on ourselves. Thank
True.
you. Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you. Very valid point. True. If we could, anybody could change listening to somebody, then one lecture, just one lecture of a saint is good enough to transform us. Doesn't work that way, right? So when it doesn't work, how can we think that it will work, just by listening? So that's a fair point. And also, when we force spirituality upon somebody who's not ready for it, we will snatch away whatever little pleasure or those honey drops they're deriving from life. So everybody is perfectly situated where they need to be, and nobody can fast track or expedite the journey. They will learn at their own pace, and that is how it's meant to be as well. So nobody can be forced into it, and I think we need to realize that as well. I mean, I've learned it the hard way. When you get spiritual bonus, right, initially you get so excited that that's the only thing you want to talk about with everyone. I used to do that, and I say, why can't they understand it? Took me a while to understand it's not so simple or straightforward, right? Shyamji, you wanted to say something, and then let's move on. We have not even started Bhagavad Gita. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Shyam ji.
राधे राधे। तो एक सवाल है from RK जी. If someone argues that it's okay to drink, that implies they're already affected with pride. Is that so?
No, ignorance, right? And even what do you call that? Vedavyas in his Vedanta Sutra, the first thing he's saying is Agyanam evasya mool karanam. The biggest problem afflicting humanity or human beings is ignorance. It's, you can call it, yeah, of course, pride also comes from ignorance. See, the problem is that everybody thinks IKEA syndrome. I know it all, right? IKEA, no offense meant to IKEA. It's IKIA, by the way. I know it all. And then you just rely on your intellect that I've cracked life and I'm smartest of all. But the real knowledge is which gives you Vidya Dadati Vinayam. There's a shloka in Sanskrit as well. It brings in humility. And one of the biggest scientists of the modern era, Albert Einstein, had said, the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know. So real knowledge is where you have an acceptance and an open mind around. There's so many things we don't know. Now, if you think it's fine, perfectly fine, that means you are relying on your own intellect, and you have closed the shutters from the knowledge that can get in. And who's the loser in this whole game? You only are the loser, right? So in that sense, people who say that, what is the basis for that? Their own intellect, or they have seen the world, it just seems cool, everybody is doing that. What is the basis for that understanding? It's pure ignorance, nothing else. And when the light basically dawns on them, on the true knowledge, then automatically these things they go away. In fact, it is said when you do devotion, I know some of the people who would open up a bottle in the middle of the day, right? Their whole day would be centered around a bottle because they need to feel that high just to operate effectively. And when they got into Krishna Bhakti, they just lost it. They grew out of it. It's not they had to force through their willpower. They just grew out of it. And they've told me, it's like they lost interest in it at all. So our mind is so smart that unless it's get a higher rus, it will not let go of whatever low level rus it is getting. So when give devotion, give it bhakti and give it a higher thing, like it is said, when you aim for the highest, the lowest starts falling away all by itself. Lose interest in that. Okay? Guru Nanak Dev had said that, whatever saki, I think one of the Mughal Badshah, he offered him saki. He said, have, enjoy it. He said, the saki of yours is going to get down in the morning. Then you have hangover, in fact. But the saki that I am immersed in, Nanak Kumari, I think he said that, I've forgotten that goes on perpetually. You don't want to get out of that. So he's tapping into something much more superior and intoxicating at a higher level. Then these things don't matter at all, right? Tequila shots, they can take a back seat in that case. Yes, Meenuji, you wanted to add something, and then we move to Bhagavad Gita today.
I think this topic became like a
Okay, no, that's
one.
fine. It saves me another day, right? I'm coming to travel. If you want to continue, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, Radhe Radhe, Meenuji.
Yeah, I just want to say that tamasic, like tamasic thoughts and tamasic food, stale food and meat and alcohol, they have impact on our mind. So
True.
that's why they're saying, because it impacts your mind, and how can the mind is not pure? How can we do devotion and follow and Hari Guruji? That's
Very
another
true.
impact.
Very true. In fact, there is a chapter devoted on this aspect only. Like Krishna is a master psychologist, he's a master nutritionist as well. So there's a chapter which talks about the three gunas. He's spoken about the food aspect of it. Is what is the food in the mode of goodness, in the mode of ignorance, and in the mode of passion. So when we eat, the fresh, juicy fruit, which is neither too sour nor too bitter, he's all spoken about that. And then it promotes that sattvic gunas as well. In fact, you would have seen when we are not well, when we eat khichdi only, sattvic food, your desires are also, inflamed desires also kind of moderate around that time. And sometimes, hey, let's go have pizza, and then you'll say, no, I'm not just feeling like. Why? Because that food is also, of course, you're not feeling well, but that food also has a bearing on our psyche. In fact, Bhagavad Gita says that, our scriptures say that when whatever we consume, 1/3 of it becomes our body, 1/3 of it becomes our mind, and 1/3 is excreted by the body. This is how it works, right? Let's say you're eating a bread. Now, based on whether the soul is, right, soul is of course not a male or a female, but whichever body you have come in as a soul, then your genetic programming and other things will make sure that it becomes part of your body within no time. The bile juices will extract all the things and it will become part of your body. And that is how it works. So the food that you're having will have a direct bearing on your thought process as well. So people who have developed those states of higher meditative practices, or even otherwise, they will understand, depending upon the food, their meditation gets tinkered. There's some effect on that. They can directly relate it to the food that they're having, and that is why they start focusing on food that actually promote their dhyan or meditation part of it. Yes, Samji, you wanted to add something?
Yes, Radhe Radhe, Samji.
Rather, just to add to that line, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Sakhi Dili, Bang Tamakhu Chotara, Putra Daye Parbat, Naam Khamari Nanka, Chadi Rahe Din Raat.
Very nice.
Naam ki jo khamari hai, the nasha, Naam ka jaap ka, that doesn't never goes away.
Very nice. Thank you, Samji. And Prabhat, you can be happy your name came in that as well. So. Yes, Ipshita ji.
Yes, Radhe Radhe, Ishita ji.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, in our morning sadhanas with Swami Ji these few days, he explained this sattva, rajas, and tamas food. Okay, so what he was saying is that how it affects our body, that the vitamins we are getting in sattvic food and in rajasic food, how it is harming our body, and in tamas, of course, it is harming so much. So he said that this is what he said, Lord Krishna said in Gita. So now it's up to you how to follow. But main thing, if you take it, yes, it of course affects the mind, but primarily for those people who are starting the journey, you take it this way, that it affects your body, how much it affects your digestive system, and how many type of diseases that you consume from once you consume the rajasic food and the tamasic food, and how your means the full body works when you take sattvic food. So he explained it in this way in the morning sadhanas actually.
True. So Lord Krishna has gone into the depths of explaining that, and the beauty is towards the end is like, I like the way he's gone about it, right? Like a perfect teacher, he's arming Arjun with all the right knowledge. And then towards the end, he tells him, Yat hechasi tatha kuru. Now you decide what is good for you and bad. He's not saying, I'm God, I'm so smart, just listen to me. He's saying, Yat hechasi tatha kuru. And we struggle to say that even to our kids or people around. We said, I'm telling you, so listen. He's giving him a free will. Now you use your judgment and think what is right for you and do it accordingly. Okay, so that's what he tells him. But yes, he's given you a framework, the guidelines. Now it's up to us to utilize it to the best of our advantage, for our spiritual journey. Now the tamasic mode also means, catering to our lower energy. There's our lower energy within us, and then there's a higher energy. And the biggest tragedy of human life is we keep catering to our lower self. Lower self means catering to the needs of our mind and senses, getting angry, upset, getting the dopamine kicks that we get from intoxicants and stuff like that. So if we lead life predominantly in those things, that is also tamasic, right? We spoke about tamasic people, they don't mind swindling, cheating people as well. So that is like catering to your lower energy. When you get into mode of passion, it's all you care for is how do I take care of my inflamed senses, sensory gratification, or taking care of what you think I must, I should, I need, kind of a thing, making new desires and going after pleasure. And sattvic is good, it's the best out of these three, but still limiting, because then you will not be able to get rid of your ego. And secondly, until you bring God consciousness, you are still limiting your potential, and then it will give you temporary results but not lasting results. So when it comes to booking your visa or ticket out of this material world, definitely not. You're still playing in the material world only. Okay, so with that said, let's move on. Yes, Aparna ji.
Radhe Radhe Aparna ji.
Radhe Radhe. I just came to know what actual sattvic food is when I was at the family camp. I used to think that I make very sattvic food, very simple food at home. But even I use like little bit more salt, little bit more spices. And I realized at Dallas that it kept me so calm throughout the day, and I could feel the difference. I'm vegetarian, but at the same time, sattvic food versus what I thought was sattvic, there is a big difference.
Sure.
And also one question, like sleeping very late in the night or doing, is that like tamasic gun, or is it, what is it categorized as?
Nishachar, right? They become active during the nights. I don't know our circadian clock, but we have got to be practical around it as well, right? See, purely sattvic in today's world is also something which is not practical. Right, I've spoken to Swamiji and he said then in those cases, some of the fermented stuff like breads and all is okay. Be realistic about it. Let's not, it has a bearing on it. But if you're determined on your spiritual path, it's not that it is going to break your spiritual journey. It doesn't mean you start intoxicating and hoping with that. But some of them now, if you look at Swamiji, if he has to entertain us, sometimes he's awake till 11 kind of a deal. He's not like early to bed, early to rise. But then he doesn't need much. So what happens is when you start progressing in your spiritual or in devotion, then the tamas aspect of your life starts getting cut. When tamas starts getting, then people who need 7-8 hours of sleep, I think those people for 4 or 5 hours, it's more than enough for them to rejuvenate themselves. Now, science will not and doctors will not say that, but I've seen people who survive on that and they're pretty healthy. And Swamiji, I don't think he sleeps more than 2 to 3 hours every day. Maharaj used to say normally 6 to 8 hours is okay, but since you are doing devotion, 3-4 hours should be okay for you. But you have to reach that stage where you are fresh. It really depends on, I don't know how that happens. So for some of our 5 a.m. club members, it has already started happening, which is good. I struggle with that still till now. So I follow my body signal, but it is much better than it used to be earlier. Previously even 10 hours used to be less for me. Now I'm not like that. I always used to say my favorite character in Ramayana was Kumbhakaran because he would happily sleep, wake up, eat, and again sleep. Okay, but that's not the purpose of life. But now it has come down to about 6-7 hours, which is much better. But I want to really optimize it, from 5 to 6 hours, which I don't know when it's going to happen. But one hour I make up, during my office meetings. I don't know how that works. 1 hour I sleep in my meetings. And that happens across 4 or 5 meetings, not in one meeting, because usually meetings are 30 minutes. But yes, sleep has to be moderated as well, because in Bhagavad Gita, it is said, right? Everything in moderation. Excessive eating is bad. Very low eating is also bad, and excessive sleeping is bad, and very less sleep is also bad. So moderation is the key. Balance is the key. Okay, so with that said, let's move on. Let's cover a little bit of it. I know we covered a lot about this dominant guna aspect of it, which is a pretty interesting concept. It's important to be aware of our gunas. See, they keep on fluctuating throughout the day. But if we know our tendencies, basic tendencies like that, we can do something about it. When we go to a doctor, doctor can only help when you know what the problem is, right? The prognosis starts from first identifying. So similarly, the spiritual knowledge would come in handy when we understand this is how our mind operates, and now I need to systematically tackle it. But if you're not even aware of it, then you'll continue to deepen that sanskar, because normally we are in an autopilot mode. Your mind is telling and you're following, mind telling, you're following. So that there you can take a pause. That synapses between stimuli and response would be broken at that point, because you have introduced a gap. And when you introduce even a slight gap, even if it's a few nanoseconds, then you are giving chance for divinity to come and wonderful things can happen. Okay. So with that, Monica ji is driving and listening. Okay, that's interesting. Let's move on. Okay, I see 2 participants in the car. Well, that's the spirit. Okay, so let's not recite it. So today we are going to talk about things that actually prevent us from surrendering. We'll see how far we can go today. And by the way, thanks for those who have volunteered to help out with the Gita Jayanti. If you are interested, you can fill in the feedback tracker. We still have about 3 to 4. So if you want to write an article related to Gita Jayanti, please do so. Write it out. You can write an article related to a particular shloka that has really made a change in your life, or 30-second testimonial, 10 seconds, right? What does Gita Jayanti mean for you? I think those instructions have already been.
What is Bhagavad Gita for you on that? A vertical 10-second video.
Vertical 10-second video, you could do that. So multiple ways to get involved. So please check it out as well, or fill in the feedback tracker. We'll reach out to you. Now let's talk about some of the things that actually impede us from surrender. So we spoke about surrenders, now the 6 concepts of surrender, and we said this is the spiritual currency, true spiritual currency we carry from lifetime to lifetime. Nothing else goes with us other than the Daivik Gun, or the spiritual wealth that we have acquired in this particular life. And the percentage of surrender, we don't have that formula, God only has us, that you have acquired, that will continue with you. For some people, it's easy to let go very quickly. Some people by nature are very sattvic. Some people, by nature, when they are, they are very acceptant around situations around this. Why? How is it happening? It's because they've already acquired in previous lives, and God is benevolent or generous enough to give them the merit of what they have acquired in previous life in the current life. So it can happen. So this is a real spiritual currency we can carry forward across lifetimes. Nothing else can be carried otherwise. Now life is a ABCD journey. Let's talk. We are talking about T, alphabet T, but now let's talk about ABCD. Okay, what is ABCD? A is A. Okay, preposition. So start to end, start, stop. So it's a B to D journey, and in between come choices. So between B to D, we make choices, and those choices would either keep us where we are, maintaining a status quo, or we uplift ourselves, soul, or we downgrade ourselves. Okay, all 3 possibilities are there. And things come to our life for the sake of evolution and inner growth. And really, we need to, if you look at it, a timeline of our life, it's a continuum of opportunities to evolve ourselves and increase our surrender. So every situation in your life would give you an opportunity either to increase your surrender, or to stay where you are, or to decrease it. Okay, by not aligning to some of these principles. Now it's not a 0 or 1 kind of a deal, but over time we can get to, it's a journey, right? So surrender is a journey. It's not a 0-1 thing. But over time we can get better, because now we have the benefit of knowledge. So when we have the benefit of knowledge, we force our mind to align with our higher purpose. Okay, you're going to complain, I get it, but I'm going to accept it. I want to try accepting it, and then pray to God to give you strength. And then over time, things will start becoming better. You'll have more acceptance, quick acceptance. Moving on, having gratitude, marveling at small things, graces that we have, so many graces that we have received. So that becomes a way of an attitude of our life, right? So B to D journey with C in between, because C is very important. The choices that we are making, every moment, every situation that is being presented to us, because that could be instrumental for our spiritual growth. There's no opportunity, no situation where you say, it did not present me with an opportunity. It's like every moment we are being tested. So that examination is always on. One who teaches also tests you. So God not only gives us the knowledge, but also tests us how well we have understood or how well we are advancing on that. He'll keep on testing you. And it's a privilege to get tested. We should not be scared about the test at all, right? In fact, the whole life, if you think about it, it said that life is a preparation and death is an examination. But that is a final examination where we keep on getting tested like unit tests. And then you have half yearly and then final exam, right? Final exam is a final exam, but unit tests also we need to pass successfully, and that will contribute towards our final exam as well. Okay, so now moving to the lack of surrender. What are those things? Let's start with that. They are called kapu acharans. Kapu acharans, our scripture says kapu acharans. Let's talk about the first one. It is called jim bhav, not the gym. Okay, jim bhav. Lack of simplicity. Okay, what is jim bhav? This pronounces like gym only. It is lack of simplicity, and simplicity who has? Kid has the simplicity. Right? So what it means is, see, it's how pure it is. I hope you can see the purity in it. Okay, a lot of artistic work has gone into it. It is pure. And the one you see, then what happens is, this is how it becomes impure. Okay. And the spirituality is all the journey about getting back to that pure state. Okay. When as kids, we spoke about this concept, it's like a dewdrop, very pure, very innocence. And then the impurity starts creeping in. What kind of impurity? Nirmal man, right? Nirmal man is something that I think Ramayana also says Nirmal man to his sohave, right? It's very appealing to God. Even Bible says that blessed are those who have the heart of children or of a kid, because they shall enter the kingdom of God first. So having that simplicity is very, very important. Now, people find it difficult to have faith. Now, there are two kinds of saints. One who have gone beyond buddhi, right? Spiritualist. They have gone beyond buddhi also. Our buddhi is the biggest impediment. And then some are mood, dim-witted, who simply trust Guru's word. Both possibilities are there. I'll tell you a story about it. So there was, so that cunningness is something. Okay, let's first talk about the cunningness aspect of it. So, there was, what do you call that? When we came to this world, we were simple, super simple, right? We drank mother's milk without sugar, etc. But then mother, when we grow up, she gave us the external milk and added sugar to it for the taste of sugar. That's how we acquired it. And then after that, Bonvita, Horlicks, and other things also started seeming insipid to us. The shadras, we start habituated to it. Okay, this is how that dewdrop, the conditioning starts in this life. In this, and then the parents, they start teaching children. There was a guy, the little boy, his name was, I don't know, Pappu, I think, yeah. So he was told by his mom that don't tell Papa that we have seen a movie. So when the Papa comes, he said, Papa, Mommy told me to tell you that we have not seen a movie. And then the movie started at home itself. Okay, you can imagine what would happen. And then Pappu got slapped by Mommy. And Mommy said, don't ask you why I'm slapping you, because if I'll give you another slap. So he figured out how to lie to mom gradually for self-interest. Right? And that continued throughout the life. Right? If you go to a shopkeeper, they were just by opening, the first thing that they do is like, jhoot bolunga, jhoot ke siva kuch nahi. I'm going to tell a lie and nothing other than the lie. Okay, that is what they do throughout the day, because that their profession demands it. They have to negotiate and stuff like that. So this is how it says. So God says this all will not do. You have to come back to the original state. So going back to the same state is a process of spirituality where you become innocent like a child. And when you become innocent like a child, God takes control like a mother. Child doesn't have to do anything. You cry and mother will know what you need at that point. So that is the whole idea about it. And when I talk about people who believe, just go by the Guru's word, there's a story of a little boy where, Panditji, he used to be there. Panditji said, you know what, he used to do puja of Ramji and everyone every day. He said, I'm going on a tirath. So for 2 months, you take care of, feeding them. And he used to see he would feed them every day behind the curtains and then do that ritual and go away. So he gives say there, I'm going away, and you have ration worth 2 months. So moderate it accordingly. So little boy said, all right, that's fine. I'm going to take care of them, these devotees, and then, take care of it while you are gone. So he believed they are God and they eat food. He did not know what was happening behind the curtain, right? So he went there and said, eat. And they were not eating. Deities were standing there. So he brought a stick finally. He said, what will I tell Panditji, that I am offering you. That's why you're not eating. That was the expression of his faith, that he truly believed. And then because of his faith, he started crying and he started holding a stick in his hand, that what face will I show to Panditji when he comes back, because you're not eating food. So because of his faith, the deities manifested, and along with them came Hanumanji as well, and they started eating. And when Hanumanji eats, what can happen? And they finished the whole ration in 1 week. So when Panditji came back, he said, what happened? He said, the deities came, Hanumanji came, and they ate all of it. He said, are you kidding me? Let's do the same drill again. He said, all right. He said, okay, let's do that. Again, he put the food in front of deities, and deities are frozen. And then they are not doing anything. And he said that, are you going to prove me a liar? And he brought his stick again. And when he brought his stick again, deities manifested. When deities manifested, Panditji fainted. Right? So he said when he came back, he was revived. He said, my whole life has gone by and I've never seen their darshan. And here is a kid, right? And who's able to make these deities manifest. So that is the faith. Now that kid was not an intellectual, but he simply believed. And that did the trick. So God says, you become innocent. Nothing more is needed at that point. And now we have to unlearn all that we have learned and develop that faith back, because intellectually we have become too sophisticated to understand some of these concepts, and it becomes very hard thing, right? It doesn't appeal to our intellect and become as innocent as we used to be when we were kids. So that is the first big impediment on this path of spirituality, on the path of surrender. That stops us from surrendering. The second one is anrit bhav, hypocrite. Okay, what is that hypocrisy? Hypocrisy is lack of coherence. Like even in leadership in corporates, they talk about integrity. So it's like the thought, speech, and actions, they have to be in coherence. So when you meet somebody, how are you doing? I'm doing all right. And you give a smile, right? But may not be the case. That's fine. There's something called etiquettes as well. But then there are so many things that we get conditioned with that we lose our integrity around a lot of things. And we are even not even true to ourselves when we are doing, right? That becomes part of our conditioning or of our DNA. So God says we need to stay away from that kind of a hypocrisy. It's very important to be carry that integrity in your thoughts, speech, and actions. Now, one of the story that comes is basically of Sugriv. You won't know the story about Sugriv, right? So this guy, Sugriv, so when Vibhishan was coming, Vibhishan came, right, to Lord Ram. We know that in Ramayana. So Ram, being seated within, he knew his intent anyways. So, but because of the propriety of conduct, Ram asked Sugriv, what do you think? How should we treat him now that he has come, all the way from Lanka? Sugriv told him, don't trust him. Don't trust him. He's coming from Ravan, so who knows what his motives are. But Ravan said, but I have a rule that whoever surrenders to me, I have to accept them. He said, if you accept them, what are you going to give him? Because you've already promised, Lanka to, not Lanka, but he said, what will you give to Vibhishan if Ravan doesn't die and surrenders? He said, what if Ravan doesn't die and surrenders? What are you going to give him? So he said that I'm going to give Ravan my Ayodhya because I have promised it to. Anyway, that happened later. The point is, he said, don't trust him. But when he saw Vibhishan, the way he was surrendered to Ram, then it made him reflect how he was, right? Because when Vibhishan came, he said, I've got a tamasic body, which has a propensity to commit sin and eat flesh. And but I have heard that, Lord Ram is Sharnagat Vatsal. So I have come to take his refuge. And then it made Sugriv reflect, he was thinking about him this way. And what did he do to Ram? He had promised Ram that he's going to look after Mother Sita, help him search her. And then when he started ruling Kishkinda after Bali died, he started enjoying the luxury of palace until Lakshman had to come and remind him that. So the point is, we are hypocritical in the sense that we say something, but we truly don't mean it, or we forget it. So that is called hypocrisy. So when we, even in the case of surrender, when we do that there also hypocrisy comes in. That, okay, God, everything belongs to you, and we don't mind saying it, uttering it in words, but when it comes to practice, we don't make sincere efforts to bridge that gap. So God says, don't be hypocritical, be who you are, and then continue to work towards it. So that is the second thing that prevents us from being a hypocrite. And then the third thing are the 4 tushtis we have spoken about. First is called the Kal Tushti. These are all impediments to our surrender. Kal Tushti is where we postpone our surrender or postpone everything in life, postpone even spirituality in life. And we think we blame it on time. We said, when the time will come, it will happen, right? When my right time will come, it will happen. We wait for the time. It is called Kal Tushti. The second Tushti is Bhagya Tushti. If it's written in my fate, then it will happen. Or if it's just not written in my fate right now, maybe when I'll grow old or this will happen, then it will happen. Or I'll wait for that, the fate or favorable stars to align, and then it will happen. So that is called Bhagya Tushti. The third one is called Ishwar Tushti, where we put it back on God himself. If God desires, then it will happen. We put as if God has to desire, and then I'll swing into action. These are the tushtis which take us further and further away from surrender. And last but not the least is Sharanavaran Tushti, where I'm surrendered to you, but this is more in your speech and words, but not from internal. Internal surrender is not there. You are not yet surrendered to it, but you pretend, not pretend, it's part of being hypocritical as well, but you go about projecting to the entire world as if you are a surrendered soul. Doesn't work that way, because God is seated within. He'll understand that. So he said these are the 4 things we need to be mindful of as well on the path of spirituality, because they can be real road barriers to your surrender. So with that, any questions? I covered it fairly quickly. I had a lot of things, but since we spent a good amount of time, I thought let me quickly cover that so that we can move to the next shloka. Any questions on what we spoke about or anything? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Please go ahead.
Ipshita ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Can I have the previous slide of this? What 4 tushtis you have given? The previous slide. Yes, this one. Yeah.
Are you preparing for the quiz?
No, actually, I keep these slides. I contemplate on that. And together with that, my son is also into this bhakti. He was also there with Swamiji all this while. So I share it with him also.
That's good.
That is the thing. And one more thing I want to ask, that in that you said that bread is also a intoxicated thing, right?
No.
No.
Said you can have sandwiches. Okay, that's what I asked Swamiji. I eat a lot of sandwiches, right? He said it's fine.
Yeah.
You got to be practical, right? If you go by Jainis principle, you cannot eat food if it is more than 2 hours on, right? So in this world, we got to be practical. If you look at Swamiji himself, he's at the mercy of whatever people feed him. So it's good if you can control it, but we should not go excessively around it, especially when we, if you are refraining from intoxicants and other things, then having bread and other things is fine. You got to be practical around it.
And like biscuits, we can have biscuits.
Okay, so what I'll do is...
No, actually, I have to take it at 2 hours because I have ulcer,
Yeah,
so,
as long as they're not cream biscuits, I think you're fine.
No, not cream biscuits, simple biscuits. Yeah.
I think it should be okay. So what I'll do in one of the sessions is my cousin brother's wife, we had been to San Diego last a few weeks back. She's a master. She's a very good nutritionist. So she actually expertises in sattvic diets. She was telling me a lot of recipes. I mean, I could not record all of it, So maybe I can bring her to the session because I was very impressed by her knowledge about all the ingredients and like taste, be and health kind of an thing, right? That we can do this, then, and she has done a very thorough. So maybe I can bring her to a session one of these days. She can give you some very good looking, yummy and healthy and sattvic recipes. So maybe that would be one of the things
Okay, that will be great.
I'll bring her in one of the
Yeah,
sessions
yeah.
and let her talk about it. From time to time, some good recipes, sattvic recipes that they keep experimenting around with. So
Okay.
That's
Thank you so much.
no worries.
that's a wonderful idea, Nitinji. I think having such guest speakers of different expertise.
I'll bring
And
her. Yeah.
and with this cream biscuit idea, I started receiving messages. Like one person is saying, "But I like cream biscuit." Another one is saying, "If it is
Okay. I like
chicken."
I used to like bourbon a lot. Okay, now I have limited that. Processed food is not good. It said that your gastric lining, it interferes with that, right? So the processed food actually, the less you have, the better it is. That's a general principle from a health standpoint. So I'm not an expert. See, I don't want to kill biscuit industry by giving opinions about we should have it on, but I don't think it comes in a sattvic food as it's more in the rajasic mode. So
Also, Maharaji
yeah,
says
there are other
sugar.
kind of biscuits as well, but yeah, see, if you have to take there are hard and fast rule, right? Now we get into that diet aspect of garlic and all that stuff, right? As long as you're not addicted to it and you're having it with a medicinal or some other thing, supporting, it has a bearing, but not to an extent that it's going to derail your journey altogether. So we have to put it in perspective as well.
And
Main
for people who are Gunatit, there will be no impact of these things on them, right?
people who are Gunatit, material laws don't apply to them.
Yeah. Okay.
Material laws do not apply to them at all. Okay, they are beyond Maya at that point.
Right.
See, the lack of coherence, its integrity is very important. It's required. See, even in corporate setup, I'll tell you, it's a very important thing to see that carrying that integrity is very important. There might be people who might think they are smart, right? And they can manipulate and navigate their way through. Now, if you make, and then nobody can be too smart for other people. Over time, you get sorted out. So it's a very good policy to have a very clear integrity about what you say. See, you have to be diplomatic at times. That is fine, but being non-manipulative and being clear and direct in your communication over time, people will understand, right? Whether you are that category or this. So having an integrity is very important for you to have. And if you look at some of the good leaders, they have that aspect, that connect is established because people understand that they're coming from a what you call that on the back of a truth or something, being honest about it and not being manipulative around it. So that comes across. So integrity or having truthfulness towards what you're thinking, the way you are telling it's a great virtue to have, and then you are closer to God as well because truth is God. Yes.
Parna ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Parna ji.
Radhe Radhe. Also, there I wanted to just let you know that there is a session on nutrition on Saturday night. I think 10 p.m. by JK Yog. That gives a lot of information during that time. I mean, if it is related to any particular disease like diabetes or something, or even otherwise, it's a very good way to learn about different recipes as well as what is good, good nutrition.
Yeah, but I'll get her as well. The recipes that she's going to share will appeal to your optics. It'll appeal to your palate, and it'll be sattvic. Okay, what more can you ask for? So stay tuned. I think she'll be more than happy to come on these sessions. I think I told her she said I'll get nervous. I said, all right, don't worry about it. It's a very cozy group, so don't worry about it. So I'll try to get her in one of the sessions with some of her exotic sattvic recipes that can be shared.
So, Nitinji, we need to make announcements. We need to
Sure.
share the Seva scoreboard, and there is a comment in the chat by Cash G on integrity. Leadership crucial conversations have a principle that says you can be honest and kind at the same time. It doesn't have to be either or.
Honest and yes, like they say, you can be gentle and firm at the same time. So yes, you don't have to be aggressive to get your way through. Very true. You can be kind and at the same time honest as well. You can be firm and yet be gentle as well. So there are so many things that can actually be accomplished. You don't need brute force for anything actually. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Kash.
Okay, so
Yes.
now coming to announcements. First of all, we have Gita Jayanti coming up, as Nitinji also said. So from coming weekend onwards, for the next 2 weekends, we are going to have Gita Jayanti celebrations at the Radhakrishna temple, which people can also attend online. So please check that out. The link has been shared in the chat. Next is an announcement about Family Camp. So Family Camp is the biggest event that happens here at the JK Yog headquarters, Radhakrishna Temple, which is an annual event with Swamiji that you don't want to miss. You can also attend it online as well as offline. So right now there is a 50% discount going on the registration. That will last only till December 31st. So do not miss out on the opportunity to register at a lesser price as well.
You mean if 2 people register for it, it's 100% discount, huh?
That's right.
Oh my God. I can't believe it. So please do, Shyamji. Now is your time to book your tickets and get your visa.
That's right. At least this year, Shyamji.
But yeah, I would strongly encourage you to join a family camp. It's a very, very, what do you call that, good experience, spiritual experience, condensed program for about a week. And it's great. You get
Transformational
what
for so many of us, right?
it's an
So
immersive experience and a very good experience. You don't want to get out of that bubble at the end of it. So yeah. Please.
those are the two, yes. So those are the two main events here in US in RKT Dallas. But apart from that, right now Swamiji is in India and his India tour is going on. So I've also posted the schedule of that as well as the link for you to see the details. And after his tour in various cities in India, he will also be conducting, there will be shivir, spiritual retreats in India, starting from this end of this year itself, which will be in the JK University. And then there will be in January at Tirupati Balaji. So many opportunities for you to get connected. So don't miss out on that. And of course, last but not the least, please fill out the feedback tracker. You can put in your interest of submitting the video also for the Bhagavad Gita Jayanti. That is it about these announcements. Now, can we move to Seva Scoreboard?
Yes, we can quickly do that. I have a hard stop, so after that we'll have to wrap up today.
Okay.
And I hope you joined. Most of you joined the session, that new session, which is making waves on the spiritual secrets from Hinduism, I believe, right? So that was an amazing session. So please keep supporting that and getting more youth and people around. So hope you enjoyed that. So let's look at our scoreboard and then we can wrap up our session for the day.
Okay, so this is, I think we are looking at the scoreboard after quite some time. I myself feel so. But yeah, this is our Seva scoreboard right now, and people have skyrocketing scores. All the 4 teams are well represented, enthusiastically leading the scoreboard, followed by Selfless, Ananya, and Vinamr. Anita Ramana ji is like definitely the spotlight here in share part. And then in likes, we have Prabhaji, Komalji, Shyamji, Kavita, Sairamji. So yeah, I think people from all the teams are active, which is a good thing. And in every segment, we have people filling their scores and participating in Seva, which is coming.
A lot of action happening here. So that's very nice. Thank you, everybody, for your selfless favor.
Yeah, so many people. Wonderful. So that's it. Cheers to all of you. Thank you for being active. And I guess we have the Jagat Guruttam Divas related assignment already announced. So the team leads.
It's about time you swing into action for your team. Jagat Guruttam Divas is coming. You need to get your team together and do those amazing presentations, or some act that, it's about time for all the teams to swing into action. Where is Monica and Vinamra team, Shri Ramya, and then
Vinamra team, Prabhat ji,
Prabhat,
Sairam ji, and Ananya team, Shri Ramya.
Ananya team, Shri Ramya, and Prabhat is there as well. So you need to get your thought process going. Time is approaching very fast.
Just 1 more month to go. That's it.
Dinner can wait, breakfast can wait, but Jagat Gurutam Divas cannot. Okay.
I think this was all the announcements, Nitin ji.
Okay. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. Tomorrow we'll catch up on our devotional segment. Today I have a hard stop, back to rush. And so tomorrow we'll continue. Thank you again for your participation and the engagement. So Radhe Radhe from my side. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll continue on this journey. Tomorrow we'll do the next shloka, 4.38. We will be getting into it.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah,
And
Radhe
fill out the
Radhe.
feedback tracker if not already. If there anything in particular you want to discuss, please put it in there as well. But thank you, Radhe Radhe from my side. Good night, good day. Bye everyone.
Radhe Radhe. See you all tomorrow.
See you all tomorrow.